a daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play option. Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
Dan, morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
Doing good. Beautiful Wednesday. And,
Beautiful Wednesday.
Yeah.
Knoxville, Tennessee. Matt is out today, so we've got the two amigos.
Yes.
Which one of the three amigos would be Matt? Martin Short, Chevy Chase, or Steve Martin is the question.
Wow. Yeah.
Now
those are all blasts from the past. Those are all good.
Yeah, that's right. I tell you what, I have always been a Chevy Chase guy. I don't think he's a nice guy, but I do think Chevy Chase is really. Christmas Vacation is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, Chevy. I'll tell you, Troy, when you bring up the comedians, probably the funniest guy when I would stand, when you stand in the pits as a trader, it's a journey, right? It's like being in a little unit in the military.
Yeah.
You're standing on a step, maybe 5-6 inches from another human being for 8 hours, right? I mean, you take your biological breaks, as they say. I heard that expression the other day. Yeah, take your potty, maybe a quick break, but you're literally next to a guy. And there was a guy in the Micron pit for a 3-year period. I would be there with Pete Nigerian, and I stood there. His name was Craig. He was a big guy, right? And he was maybe 10 years older than I was, but he was the funniest. He would just laugh to himself, talk to himself. And I thought, this guy would just crack me up. And we got talking one day, just matter of fact, where he grew up. And guess who his best friend growing up, who he literally hung around with from age 4 to 9 or 10? It was Bill Murray, the comedian.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And so I got it. And I'm like, wow, would I have loved? I mean, Craig, you could just see would be this guy. Bill would be doing the, stuff like from Caddyshack and Bill and Craig was just there laughing and cheering him on, and the perfect sidekick. And he was, I mean, this was a guy probably 50 at the time, but I mean, he was just, he
those
was
guys, that Chicago outfit of Bill Murray and Belushi. I don't remember if Aykroyd was in that crew.
I don't know if he had Chicago roots, but he was in that
Second City and all that stuff.
What a zany group of. I
mean, that stuff was. That stuff's gold to me.
But you're right.
Anyway, sorry. No, I always like to end when someone says you're right.
Yeah.
Say, thank you. I appreciate that. So we've had some movement overnight. If you liked yesterday's price action, you're not going to like overnight's price action. If you, like me, absolutely despise yesterday's price action, then you're going to like the overnight action. Because, Dan, we moved down, I think, 100 points overnight. I think the low in the futures, I could be wrong, was 53.40.
Yes.
So we're well off that, but looks like we're on pace to open down about 1% this morning. I want to show you something interesting to me. Thank you. That's right. Dan Aykroyd was born in Canada. I forgot about that.
Oh, okay.
But Canada's kind of Chicago.
Yeah, similar. It's quick.
It's the set. Yeah,
you
cold.
Get there.
Yeah,
like an international flight that takes you an hour to get to Toronto or something. Hour and a half.
That's right. Okay, Bill. He grew up in Canada too. That growing up in Canada is like growing up in Chicago.
That's right. Fun. That's right.
That's kind of Trump's point. But that's a side. Anyway, all right. So I want to show you something real quick. Let's see here. Can you see my screen, Dan?
Yeah.
Because this is a market profile chart, And basically what I want to look at here is the futures are, if you look at yesterday's price action, or not yesterday, a couple days ago, this is the range of April 11th. We're at the 16th now.
Yeah.
So that was, when was the 11th here? That was
a Friday.
Yeah, Friday's action. So this week so far, we have done pretty well. Monday, we dipped in. This is Mondays. We dipped down into this range and came back out, and we've been in this kind of range the last couple of days.
Okay.
Well, we're going to open in Friday's price range. It looks like. And what you have to start paying attention to then is what are some areas of interest. And the majority of Friday's price was spent all the way down here at 53.17. Wow. And so the thing I'm looking at this morning, again, I'm not necessarily a technical guy, but I'm looking to basically see if we break out of this range, which would be 54.19. And if we can get back to the last 2 days range. If not, this would be a downside target I would look at, is 53.18 in the futures.
Wow. And what did you say the upside was, Troy?
I would look to see if we could get out of this 54.19. So about 40 points away, to see if we could get out of that.
Okay.
Anyway, those are things I do sometimes. They're just quick glances in the morning. I don't sit there and stare at a market profile chart all day, but I do like that it helps me organize information quickly.
Well, and 53.17 gives you because, it's people out there who are maybe thinking when the market opens, immediately buy the dip, right?
Yeah.
I think looking at the context of, the low of the day is 53.40. And what Troy just mentioned, 53.17, before you buy the dip, maybe take that into consideration. Or if you're excited, bring in the word scaling, right?
That's right.
If you wanted to, buy a few verticals in E-mini or SPX vertical debit spreads to, hey, I think it's going to rally. If you were going to buy 3, maybe buy 1. And see what happens.
Right.
Just considerations.
Yeah. I mean, in general, when you have days like yesterday that opened, basically unched and kind of had a range of 20 points in the day.
Yeah.
After these big giant moves, I think there, oh man, my brain is going to forget his name. Who started Market Profile?
Peter, how would I say, Drasselmeyer or something? Meyer.
Well,
Stoudemire.
That's Stoudemire. That's right. Yeah. But then the guy who's kind of ran with it forever.
Jim Dalton.
Jim Dalton. Yeah. So basically, that theory of market profile, it has helped me a lot in my trading, because basically what it looks at is just a big picture of saying the market doesn't just go straight up forever. It generally tends up, but what happens is you have periods of imbalance and you have periods of balance. So you look at like Liberation Day to last week. That's a period of imbalance.
Yeah.
Like there's no ranges to be had. We're just going in one direction, But then the last couple of days we have found a balance. And so we had a 2-day balance where we stayed within the range of those 2 days. And his theory is that each day that passes that you do that, the bigger the move it's going to be when it breaks out.
Like an uncoiling.
It's literally a coiling. Each day it's coiling tighter and tighter. And you have these days where like you'll look at it and there'll be a week at a time, sometimes 2 weeks at a time, where it's like the market's dead.
Yeah.
Like it's just dead. And people forget these times, but even like I think we were at 57. We rallied a bunch last month, and we rallied up to like, I could be completely wrong on this, but like 57.70 really fast.
Yeah.
And we got to 57.70 and we just died. There was no action.
That's right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Those are great times, by the way, if you can read that, to put on condors, to put on short-term theta stuff.
Yeah.
If you can read the market that well, or at least kind of it's not about timing it in my mind. It's about recognizing the pattern. Anyway, I just rambled a bunch, Dan.
No. But Troy, I was going to say, continuing that thought, like if you look at the last 2 days in the E-minis, I think Monday, the high was 54.97. Yesterday, the high was 54.85. And we kind of went up to those highs and then backed off a bit. Would you say, combining that with, you were looking at maybe 53.17 on the downside, when you look at like where it went, the highs the last 2 days, was there much volume when you look at the profile? Are they looking like even 53.17? Is that where there's more volume there, or how would you say it?
Well, it's a mix of volume and time, and there's neither.
Oh, time.
So,
I got you.
Yeah, volume and time. And so both of those days, Monday and Tuesday, I mean, I think the high of Monday was 54.98, around there.
Yeah.
And we spent no time. I mean, to put it in perspective, see if I can do this real quick.
So that's the key, not just volume, but how long did it spend up at that area?
Yeah, for sure. So at the top, I mean, it tapers. And so those top contracts were 843 contracts sold.
Oh my.
88.
Okay.
So you can see that in real time with a market profile chart. And that, it say the price is tapering. And that's a way to say, okay, well, maybe there's just, if you think about it in an auction, say there's no more buyers up here.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that happens on the reverse too, is you'll notice something will go down, it just kind of sits there. And maybe it goes down a little bit lower, but you can see it starting to taper. And so there's just it's an auction. There's no more sellers.
Yeah.
And so everyone's trying to find the fair price.
Yeah.
And we tried to make our little coins off of that.
But it makes sense when you think about it, that it's not like sometimes charting can be kind of, it's like you look up at the cloud and you say, Troy, I'm seeing a Harley Davidson motorcycle on that cloud. Well, Dan, I see a picture of Cinderella. Well, those are two distinct things, right? In a chart. Whereas here you're looking at actual ES futures contracts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, real concrete things at a certain price. You're looking how long we stayed at that level, how many contracts. That's something that makes more, it makes sense. And I think Stottlemyre, who was a trader at the Chicago Board of Trade, it makes sense, right? That they would be, especially if he was in the futures market, because he was around even, I think, before 73 when we had the options exchange started at the CBOE. So it was all based on volume, which was kind of old school, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing that people like Dalton and others have kept it real, that it still can benefit traders in this era.
Well, I mean, to the point, what's crazy about it is you see this stuff happening where like yesterday's low, and I mean, unless you visually can see it, you wouldn't know it and you wouldn't think about it. Yesterday's low was to the tick, the high of Friday.
Yeah.
And so what it shows is they're trying to push it into Friday's range. Yeah. And it rejected. There's just no sellers in that range. And so that just is really valuable information to me.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so that's Troy's market profile day. We'll do a deep dive on market profile one day because I think it's interesting. And how it can influence your options trading, because we're an options trader.
Yeah, another tool that I think is helpful. It's just like another thing on the road that you want to pay attention to.
And I will say this for market profile to defend in its defense, it is a really old tool to the point. I mean, people used to draw this with pen and paper throughout the day.
Oh yeah.
Just, it's a lot less expensive than some of these other tools I've seen that guarantee millions,
Oh yeah.
And I have found it to be really valuable. So anyway, but Dan, we are continuing our talk this week about curve fitting, things you could have done knowing that the market was going to do something going into Liberation Day.
Yeah.
And I want to look at two tests today real quick. Super easy, super interesting, and both have two trades, I think. I mean, again, we're just looking at one small data set of Liberation Day until April 12th. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you see this, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. So what this is if you let me double check here. April 2nd, Liberation Day, 30 minutes before the market closed, because you remember he was coming out at 4. Liberation Day, 30 minutes before the market closed. If you had bought the straddle, and we're buying the straddle for 7 days out, okay? You can test different things. This is just an idea generation thing. You bought the straddle at 3:30, price was 56.53, and you just let it expire, or you take a profit target. Those are the two kind of instances. Well, no profit target was going to be had. We didn't get up to 1,000% profit target on this straddle. We put it on and took it off. It expired for we put it on. The debit was $142. We took it off for $203 and made money from it. It's a fine test. You'd be very happy with that, obviously. But Dan, the thing that I'm struck by with that is you probably didn't make as much as you wanted to from this. And why would that be the case? If you expected a lot of movement, what are some of the problems with buying a straddle, expecting a lot of movement?
Yeah, it's the biggest thing with a straddle when you think of the Greeks, when you think of the Greeks is especially a straddle, right? A straddle is the most imposing negative theta you'll ever encounter in your life. And it's very difficult, is in the movie Jack Nicholson said, you can't handle the truth, right? Well, I can't handle, in most cases, a long straddle. There's cases I really can, and we can share that today, where I'm comfortable with a long straddle all day long.
Yeah.
In certain scenarios, and like if you said to me, when VIX is on the low end of the range, would you put on, 60-day long straddles all day long, good size, because there's so much I can do. I'm looking from a portfolio concept that I have this anchor, right, in a cheap straddle. I can sell options in front of it all day. It's in the low end of the vol. I've got plenty of time. Those are times I'm excited about a straddle or a strangle. But when you're coming in here, what does this say? What's the duration on this, Troy? This is
7 days.
7 day. You've got negative theta staring at you, and basically you're hearing voices. And the voices are saying, you better move.
That's right.
You gotta, as Matt said yesterday, you gotta move, right? Or there's a song or something that things have to move, and they got to move quickly because the negative theta, and you have long vega. So I think that's the imposing thing, because you could be long a straddle, right?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't move for 2 or 3 days, you could be down 20, 25%. And then when it moves, it could get you up to break even.
That's right.
So it's a powerful tool, like Troy showed it worked here, but you have the obstacle of timing, especially a 7-day straddle. If it was a 60-day straddle, you could say, well, wouldn't that be better that you don't have as much negative theta? That's correct. But now you got a volatility problem. You better be right? If you're going to go out and buy a 60-day. So here, you're basically, this type of trade is saying, hey, I think there's catalyst going on, which obviously Liberation Day was. There's catalyst coming in. I think there's going to be a move, which there was. So you make some money, right? A strangle is cheaper, right? A strangle is cheaper because you're buying an out of the money call and put. But, a straddle, if you get that move right away, could be powerful. Anyways.
Well, no, I think those are good points. And Joseph, great point too. I mean, this was not an unknown event. I mean, this was a known event. And so that they had tried to price it. I mean, even as expensive and as much that we fell, much more than I think what they were pricing in. $142 for a straddle, 7-day straddle, is no joke. Like that's a lot of That's a lot of premium baked in.
It's a lot of premium, but it was actually, you could argue it was cheap. I mean, when you think about
it's all relative to what happens,
Yeah, and we forget that, we say $140, but here's context. Tesla is not $5,300. Apple's not $5,300.
Yeah.
SPX is a $5,300.
That's right.
So what do you expect the straddle to be there?
Good point.
And on April 2nd, Liberation coming into it, VIX was 20 to 21.
Yeah. Yeah.
And April 7th, it was 60. So
that's right.
So that was, for a $6,000 vehicle, that actually was a cheap straddle.
It turned out to be.
Yeah, it turned out to be very cheap. But when you were looking at April 2nd, if you say, well, 20, if you're looking backwards and say, was 20 on the upper end or lower end? Well, of the previous 12 months, taking out the August 5th Japan thing, the range in volatility was maybe 12 or 13 to 21.
Yeah.
But, no one knew for sure. But with the tariffs, 20 seemed to be, which, today VIX will open at 32. We may not see 20 until Christmas, right? 20 is a long way off. So I think,
right.
People shouldn't just say $100 and some dollars is cheap. It isn't cheap on $100 necessarily, right?
Right.
On a
$5,600
stack. Anyways.
Well, real quick, just to the point of how, this is interesting to me. See if I'm going to just change something around real quick just to look at something. Because I want to see basically, I'm going to put 100%. I'm just going to buy one at a time because I want to see prices year to date. And so, oh, that's going to put on way too much. Never mind. The point of being is some of these prices, 98, it's going to fluctuate, but like to the point of if you tried to open a straddle Tuesday, April 8th.
Yeah. Good example.
You can see this in real time getting more expensive. So this was Liberation Day. This was the day before. This was that Friday. So
it wasn't horrible.
They were starting to price it in. The previous week, it was a little that. The previous week before that, a little that. So like, this is actually a pretty useful tool. If you just go back and run back tests about straddle prices, you can pretty much time it to market events and what they're doing, pricing it in, and that's a learning lesson. But Dan, obviously, because we know what we know now, because we're playing the game of Back to the Future, and we know when the clock tower is going to struck by lightning, we cannot buy a straddle. We can switch this and buy a strangle. And then this does a lot better if you knew back in time when the clock tower was going to be hit. And there's, I'm being indiscriminate. I'm not curve fitting to the exact point. I'm trying to say that you would have put on the 4th as well. You would have lost. But Dan, this is a lot cheaper than $140.
Yeah, it's I definitely would probably go for the strangle because I can't handle the truth, as Jack Nicholson said.
That's right.
And I'd rather pay 17 than pay 40. And is that April 2nd that you're looking at $17?
That is April 2nd at 3:30, $17.
And when you go, even at 17, if you compare it with go backwards like a week before that.
Oh yeah. No, it's expensive. It's expensive
compared 17, to a week before Liberation Day.
Well, so this is let me go back. Let me just do 30. I'm just look at 30 days.
Oh yeah,
just last 2 weeks. 13, 15. But again, to Dan's point, we're in 20 VIX environment right now.
Which is
it's not like it's a 14. If you go back to 2017 and price a straddle out or price a strangle out, it's gonna be very different prices when VIX was 9,
Well, yeah, and it is tough, but to me, this at 20 was the upper end of the range for the last year. But really, someone who bought a 7-day strangle on Liberation Day, you're betting on an event. And what you're really betting for, it's not just price move, right? We're hoping that the confusion leads to a rise in volatility.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's not easy. But yeah, strangle is an easier, wouldn't you say? It's like strangle is an easier hill to climb than, we're in Knoxville, a lot of mountains. Yeah. It's an easier hill to get in because you're paying half the amount? I don't know if it's half. April 2nd, the strangle versus the straddle. Wasn't it like here, April 2nd, 17th? But it's cheaper. And,
it's a ton cheaper. And I know personally, this is a weird thing. I have found that buying long strangles are easier for me to close emotionally than a straddle.
Interesting.
And I have no data for that, and I'm sure everybody's different. But for me personally, for some reason, this is how stupid I am. I mean, something about having an option in the money.
Oh, I agree with you.
It's harder to close it for me for some reason. And I know the Greeks and all that stuff. Whereas a strangle, if it's in the money, that means I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
And so it's just something about that makes it easier for
me. Troy, but on the other end, you're right from a price move, but think from a volatility point of view. When you buy a strangle, volatility is even more of a benefit because it's going to affect those options more, right? Because with a straddle, the minute that call goes in the money, there's less extrinsic value, right?
That's right.
And whereas your long put, if you're buying a strangle, depending if you're buying how far out, you're buying a 10 delta strangle, right?
Yeah.
So we could have a move down, not even be still not be at that 10 delta, right?
Yeah.
But made a ton because the VIX jumped 7 points.
For sure.
And that's the beauty of it. So that's why these 10 deltas, I think they're wonderful in a shorter duration for an event type thing. Hey, I'm going for a specific purpose. But I also think, and people aren't used to it and say, okay, when VIX gets in the lower end of the range. Now, that's an interesting concept because what is lower end of the range now? I mean, we had guys yesterday that, and I actually bought just a few. When VIX got to 29 yesterday, we're buying some 60-day call vertical debit spreads in VIX for like 50 cents or whatever it was. But the point being, wait a second, you're buying 29? Well, it's all context, right? 29 considering what were we a week ago? 50?
Right.
So it's right now, if there's still uncertainty, it's like 2022, VIX was in a range of 19 to 31 because we were in a downtrend. So yes, I think the strangle most people would be more comfortable with. Wouldn't you agree? And it's Troy, explain the Zigleys we're looking at here.
Oh, no, this is just to your point. One of the things that's interesting to me is if you had tried to let this expire, you actually lost on the trade.
Interesting.
It's crazy because if you think about it, 7 days after this, we had already made the full trip back up to more or less where we're at now. Because he canceled the tariffs. And so
that's right.
The thing but I took 1,000% profit because I wasn't trying to curve fit. But if you look at this, it got up to about a 3,000% profit. And so I showed the test because you have to take an arbitrary win. You have to get out of these trades when we're in a crazy crash environment like that.
Yeah.
And you have to take your money and run because one tweet can absolutely destroy that. And so, you got out, you put this on 3:30 Wednesday, you were out Friday morning for a clean 1,000% profit on a trade, right? Now you could look back and curve fit it and say, well, I'm going to get to 3,000. I know I could get to 3,000%.
Yeah.
Right. And say, well, of course I killed it. Right. That's insane. But here's the problem. Let's say you had a test and you tried to do this and say, well, I'm just trusting the data, but you're actually trusting the data on 2 data points because crashes don't happen a lot. And you said, I'm going to take a 5,000% profit, because that happened one time. And so next time, let's say it didn't, right? And you'd look at this and be like, I am an idiot, because you'd say, well, this time we only got to 3,000%. And so saying that to say, when you make a lot of money on a hedge, there's not enough data to show you when to take profits. And so you have to take less profits than you think you should.
Right. And yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think 2 quick things, Troy, I was thinking of it as you were speaking. One is you can look at a long strangle in two contexts. Number one, it could be a standalone spread. But number 2, and I think maybe more often used, as Troy's saying, is a hedge, right? It could be a hedge, against some other trades you have on. But in terms of taking it off, this is a long gamma trade. Back to the Greeks, long gamma. So that means as we're flying down here after Liberation Day, you're getting short deltas. If we fly up, long deltas. So the challenge is we go down, your short deltas, we're nowhere near Troy's long out of the money put, but VIX is going up 4, 5, 6 points. So you're looking at your short deltas, you're up a lot of money. But the thing is, it's a mirage until you close it. Because if we were to retrace, if you're getting a 2-way market, retrace, every penny of that will go away, right? Mm-hmm. So you either have to scale out of it. If you have 4 strangles, sell 2, and then maybe put some kind of stop or what do you guys call it, Troy? Ratchet, right? You can ratchet out of it, but you have to take profits, because you're right. I mean, if you ever want to see money disappear in a long strangle, it goes down, we have it, it comes back. That 1,000% return is now down 100% or whatever. And so I think,
I think that I think you're exactly right. And I think that's I was trying to look for see. What you don't want is to hit a huge win with your tails, but because little pigs get slaughtered, you don't take anything off the table.
Yeah.
And then you end up being this right here. This is the
wow.
The book of the day.
Wow.
The book of the day. So now, if you know Dostoevsky, that's actually would be a good thing. But I'm using it for the different reasons. So
I love
anyway, Dan, I mean, so we're going into, looks like volatility's back, at least for today. We could end up unched. Who knows what's going to happen? But I will say that I don't think we're going, we've said this, I don't think we're out of the woods yet. So
yeah. Troy, let me ask you real quick on options on the tool.
Yeah.
So let's say someone has a strangle. What do you have on there that, or like when you were doing, during Liberation, if someone had a strangle on, and to promote, hey, I want to make as much as I can, but if we start coming back, right, because I'm short delta is I want to let it run as much as I can. Do you have what do you call it in the option? You might have either ratcheting or something where, I know you did this I think you did this on the test Monday, where you can have it, okay, I'll take, if we go here, take off 25%, take off.
Yeah.
So scaling, but that's called scaling, right? Or what do you call it in OO?
Different profit targets.
So that was it. You had it. Different profit targets.
I'll do it real quick. And I haven't tested this, but basically you say, okay, at 500%, actually, I'm going to keep that blank there. At 500%, I'm going to close 25% of my allocation.
That's what you did.
250, I'm going to close 25. At 1,000, I'm going to close 25. And I'm going to say at 2,000, 25. Let's see how that does.
Yeah. That's a great.
And so all of those profit targets would have hit on that, But what's interesting is you start getting into this where it's like, anyway, it helps you to be able to scale out the idea of saying, like, take your profit and run.
Now, what would you, if you wanted, just to give people so that they can work on with the tool?
Yeah.
Okay, you got those profit targets. What if it starts storming back the other way? You're short all these deltas. Would you put could you have
You could adjust. There's a couple different things, Dan. I mean, you could adjust a stop loss. Personally, I don't do that, but I know plenty of people do. You could say, I'm going to create a stop loss basically to where if it drops back below a certain amount, I want out. So
okay, so you're saying, hey, I'm up 200%. If we go to maybe only up 120%,
that's exactly right.
Okay, that would be called adjust to stop. Use profit actions and then adjust stop loss.
Yeah. And then, if you don't have that, but you could say, I'm going to use a trailing stop loss. So along with the with a profit target, I'm going to start trailing my stop.
See, that's very realistic. I mean,
exactly.
That's
so anyway, I mean,
thanks for showing.
No. I appreciate you asking. Yeah. So guys, big week coming up. We have volatility today. We have Monday, Thursday tomorrow. We have Good Friday. We have the vigil Saturday night. We'll be not talking about trading Sunday.
That's right.
And we'll be back Monday. So, and then Dan's doing some live shows. I mean, I'll go ahead and spill the news. Dan's going to be doing some live shows, my friends, from Finland.
Yes.
Finland. Dan is going to be ice skating and backtesting.
Yeah.
Riding reindeers.
Yes. And don't the Finns have like a reputation for like Thor? Like, so maybe I got to get one of these cats with the antlers.
Viking.
Yeah. They're kind of a hardy type people, and they eat the delicacy out there, or they eat, which to me is kind of like eating Bambi. They eat reindeer. Right. For those of you who like, reindeer is like the big thing that they kind of eat out there, big salmon stuff, but it's a hardy group out there.
Well, Dan, what I'd like to do is I'll go to the Y as is my custom, and we should do a live show where I'm in a Knoxville YMCA sauna and you're in a Finnish sauna.
You know what? I have never seen like you. I grew up like Troy going to the YMCA, and I called it the Olympic like triathlon. You do the steam, sauna, in the shower. That was the workout. My mom would say, "How was the workout?" Mom, it was wonderful.
Exhausting.
It was exhausting. But you know what? Most houses and units in Finland, they look at sauna. You got a problem? What's your problem? My head hurts. Sauna. My toes falling off. Sauna. Yeah. Everything is, any cures, any problems you have, get in the sauna for a half hour. Life will be better.
My children. So Dan's family is very kind, has been to Finland before. And they told me that it's pronounced sauna. So I say sauna now. Whenever I say it to my kids, if you ever want to make your kids want to murder you, just say sauna instead of sauna a bunch of times.
And keep saying it over and over again.
Over and over, nonstop. So,
it's but what's interesting about Finland real quick is that they speak, most of them have been taught English. So they speak English.
Yeah.
So you're hearing someone speak English, but the way you talk, the way we talk and stuff, they're like, they learn it in school. So they don't, for like people, how you talk in Tennessee or Chicago, like, we didn't learn those phrases in Chicago.
Yeah.
Or in Finland school. What does that mean? What you just said.
Yeah. Phraseology in English is a real thing.
Yes.
But all right, guys. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. Be safe out there, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.